Political commentator Thobani Zikalala joins us now to also weigh in on the ANC developments in KwaZulu-Natal and also look at the EFF opening that criminal case against Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Dean Macpherson. Thobani, always great having you with us. Welcome. So let's start with KwaZulu-Natal, where the ANC leadership there held its media briefing at the back of the NEC's meeting this past weekend, leading to the reconfiguration announcement. They first were very adamant that they are actually against the closure of Itala Bank as well as ArcelorMittal. Let's talk about what you took away from those responses.
I think, of course, good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your listeners. I think, of course, the first issue, everyone thought that part of what the alliance will be speaking about, is the news and the current headlines around the reconfiguration of the ANC. And of course, that of course was not the case, and also maybe also breeding of the fact that the NEC was very clear on the communication lines around the reconfiguration. Sorry, let me deal with some issues.
All right, that is a commentator there, Thobani Zulu. I've never had anything like that. He just literally ditched me mid-interview. I suppose he says he's sorting out something very quickly there. Let's welcome him back. I understand he's back with us. Thobani, welcome back. Please continue.
I'm sorry, I know it looks very bad on my part, but it was just... There's just extreme noise behind me, which I thought will disturb what we were doing. I'm in a very busy office. But what I was saying was that, of course, then with the directive of the NEC with regards to the communication around the reconfiguration, and of course, then it meant that the ANC and its political allies in the province could not speak anything on reconfiguration. But what we take away from it is, of course, the ANC's concerns around the closure or the liquidation of the Itala Bank, which, of course, for many years has played an integral part in the economic development of the province, and it employs and, of course, has got many customers in the province, especially in the rural parts of the province. And I think the ANC is correct to be very concerned around that. But the idea it brings out in my mind is the idea that the constant idea that many have been speaking about of the state and what should be the state's role in the banking and financial sector with regards to the formation of state banks, and of course, the regulation around the issue of the South African Reserve Bank and things like that. I think those debates, the Etala issue, brings those debates back to the fore, because if we are really going to be able to transform provinces like KwaZulu-Natal and others, and make sure that the state is at the center of development, institutions like Itala Bank must be protected. And of course, you look at the issue of the ArcelorMittal issue and its impending closure. Again, it's that issue where mineral resources in the country and, of course, strategic sectors of the economy are still left at the hands of those who are on private hands, and the state plays little to no meaningful role in that space. And also, if you look at the idea that for the past 30 years, the state has been speaking about the idea of the creation of a meaningful environment to try, a conducive environment to try and make business thrive in the country. And I think in both fronts, I think the state of South Africa has failed in that. Even if we entertain this idea of a neoliberal economic outlook, which builds itself in the idea of individual interest and private capital. Even in that front, I don't think the South African state post-1994 has dealt well with that issue. But on the other hand, the proposals by many economists have spoken about this idea of that the state must play a much more central role in development in the country, and of course in the strategic sectors of economy like mining, mining and the processing of mining products, because those sectors are the sectors that absorb a lot of labor in the country. But it exposes that the state hasn't done enough in that space, and of course it also exposes that private capital is never in the business of making money for the sake of creating jobs. But as long as they cannot make profits, it also means that the operations will not continue.
So basically, I mean, Thobani, we've been long sold the idea that South Africa is actually attracting business and investment, yet the truth is actually quite the opposite. So let's continue now and look about the possible scenarios then should, say, the leadership of KwaZulu-Natal becomes reconfigured or however you look at it, reshuffled. Especially so close to the local government elections, so what threats also to the stability of governance within that provincial coalition?
I mean, politicians in the main, all of them are in the business of politics for the sake of access to state administration. I don't think there's any politician who enters into politics without having the quest for access to state administration. Why do I bring this point in? Is because if at this moment the ANC reconfigures its leadership structures, it will allow a space where politicians will also start fighting for access to state administration and the spin-offs that come out for that, which may create instabilities in the province. Because if you are not in the correct side of politics as this reconfiguration comes, you may find yourself out of government, and that for me would be a problematic matter. Knowing that KwaZulu-Natal, with the city of eThekwini, for example, eThekwini municipality, with its many problems that it's facing, you need a very stable governing part to be able to steer the ship. And if you have a situation where you have got new leadership that is supposed to come in and lead the organization, but you know that in most cases, task teams and things like that, and do not have the absolute powers to be able to do that. And of course, the acceptance of those on the ground and those deployed in government will also create a problematic of course, situation. Right. So I don't think, the ANC has diagnosed its problems in the province correctly, because the idea that you centralize the problems of the ANC around personalities without, of course, interrogating what really has made the people of KwaZulu-Natal to withdraw their goodwill, which they've borrowed to the ANC since 2009. Because that's the crux of the matter. Has the ANC been able to govern KwaZulu-Natal properly? Has the ANC repaid the goodwill shown to it by the people of KwaZulu-Natal in as far as the transformation of the state and the social situation in the province? I don't think that's the case, and this is why the people of KwaZulu-Natal has withdrawn their goodwill. So if you focus on the idea of withdrawing names and putting new names and senior leaders and all those things without correcting this very big problem that is at the center of the crisis of the ANC, I don't think you solve any problem, but what you create is almost a reward of different groupings of political interest inside the ANC.
Thobani, a very quick one. While you're speaking about personalities, I'm sure you heard my interview with Samkele there on the issue pertaining to the EFF laying a charge against Minister Macpherson. They are very adamant that the email that they have in their possession has conclusive proof that there was interference in procurement processes in his department, alleging also that this was in favor of a white-owned company. Do you foresee any prospects of this going anywhere, really? The DA has already rejected these allegations, and we are understanding, according to my interview that I had with Samkele Masego, the issues are far deeper than what we're being told around this matter.
I find it very, very worrying. The DA and its leadership has always prided themselves in terms of clean governance, transparency, and things like that. And to find themselves, very quick in terms of the beginning of the government of national unity, only about 8 months, if I'm not mistaken. And already they have been accused of interference in government processes. Because the issues here is, Dean Macpherson is the political head of the province, of the department, the political overseer of the minister. He is not involved in the operation processes of the government. The laws of the country do not allow him to mingle with those issues. Now, if the so-called contractors are dealing with the administrators and the bureaucracy of the department, what makes Dean Macpherson to want to intervene in that space? I think even if it doesn't create a legal problem, but in one way or another, it creates a political and ethical problem in terms of the interventions and the benefits and close relationships, that if a private contractor can call or speak to a minister to intervene on their behalf, a minister will jump and intervene without, of course, trying to let the department deal with issues. I think the EFF is almost correct here to raise concerns around this issue, especially because the DA and its ministers have come out on the bandwagon of trying to clean up government, but now they're also the ones who are involved in some questionable behaviors around the administration and the leadership of this department.
Thobani, a lot of own goals going on there. As always, thank you so much for your input. Mr. Thobani Zikalala is a political analyst weighing in on the issues of the KZN, ANC, PEC, as well as the EFF, laying their charge against Minister Dean Macpherson.